At this time of the day, we're going to do do a podcast, and I'd like to introduce Mohican Bigfoot Festival. I'd like to introduce Shane Grove and the judge from the Shadows podcast, and they air every Friday. Let me back up. They air every Friday, and you can listen to this. Won't be next Friday, but they said
it'll be sometime in the next couple of weeks.
Couple of weeks.
The easy way to catch it is just make sure you go subscribe to every place you listen to podcasts. That's our pitch for the.
All right. Well, I'm going to turn it over to them now. Enjoy yours.
So, hey, we want to, again, introduce ourselves. I'm Shane Grove, my co-host and co-founder of the podcast. Shane Ludholt, also known as the judge.
I am the judge.
He is the judge. He is a judge. Yeah, it is loud. And it's not just a clever nickname. He is a judge over in Crawford County. He's the municipal court judge. So if you get in trouble and you have ticket stub from this event, you may get off easy.
It's not necessarily get out of jail free card, but
yeah.
No, we started this podcast some years back because when I was younger, I had a paranormal experience, and so we talked about it, and when I had this experience, it was 1985, and there was no mediums out there for me to talk to. There was nothing podcast wise, and so I called him Grover, and I said we should start a podcast. And
Great idea.
And he even said, he says, well, you being an elected official and you being a judge, you sure you want to do this? And I said, I do, because for 30 years I never told anybody about my experience, and I said, If I have the courage to come and put my name on something, maybe it will inspire people who've also been afraid to come forward and tell their stories. And we've had a lot of people, because of who I am, because of sharing my experience, have come forward and shared their experience because they said, well, if he's willing to do it, then I'm willing to have the courage and come out and tell. So that was the genesis of why we do what we do. And we're really happy to be here today. And I know some people want to share their experiences.
So before we get started, I want to thank, we have a lot of former guests who have been on the show with us here in attendance, who've come to show support and say hi. We appreciate you guys coming out. I do want to give a special shout out to Sonia the Psychic, the lady who's been chasing down everybody, making sure you pay to get in here. She was a guest of ours a long, long time ago. Okay. Our original producer, Jason, who has since passed away, we interviewed Sonia the Psychic. Oh gosh, it's been 3 or 4 years ago. So I want to give you a quick testimony of how great her psychic ability really is, because we kind of put her to test on the podcast. This is before we did anything on video. And so Sonia kind of says, one of you guys, I think, is naked. Now, me and Jason were not sitting in the same room, obviously.
It was not me.
It was not him. And I'm like, what do you mean? One of us is, so she can't see us, nothing. And I know I'm not sitting in my house recording this podcast naked. And all of a sudden, Jason, so if you've ever listened to the podcast, he's on the end, this real deep, very white laugh. He starts laughing. And I go, what are you laughing about? He goes, well, I am just in my underwear. And I'm like, oh my God, Sonia the Psychic she proved herself to us. So when you see her, make sure that you're not trying to hide something.
Make sure you have your clothes on.
Make sure you have your clothes on. So our first guest, Russ. There he comes. Russ is going to come up and share an experience that I have not heard, which I like to do when we do interviews. I don't let people tell me their whole story. I kind of like to be a little surprised about what I'm going to hear.
So how many of you listen to Sasquatch Chronicles? A lot. So we interview a little bit differently. We're a little more organic. So we'll ask a few more questions than what Wes does. Some people like that. Some people don't. So
I'll give you a secret. Wes asks all kinds of questions. He just edits them out. So,
So we purposely try not to know the whole story, because if we know the whole story in advance, it makes this a lot less organic. So,
welcome to the show, Russ.
well, you
Oh,
have
yeah,
your
yeah, you
microphone.
gotta have a mic. There you go. Okay, so kind of give everybody an idea of where you're from within reason, if you don't want to tell exactly, and let's just get into what your experience was.
I'm from Ashland, Ohio. In fact, I live just outside of Hayesville. And I'm sorry, I'm not used to this exactly. Anyways, I'm from Ashland, live between Ashland and Hayesville, and I've lived here all my life. And I might as well just come out and say it. I am law enforcement of 29 years.
So where did what time frame are we talking about, and what exactly happened?
Well, in April of 21, there was an initial sighting that a 19-year-old girl was coming out of the gym called the Warehouse in Ashland. And she was brave enough to put it on the BFRO website. And I remember people talking about it in our staff meetings. Hey, Russ, this girl's had a sighting near you. It's about 3 miles as the crow flies from that warehouse to my property. And my sighting happened June 9th of 21 and about 5:15 in the afternoon.
So tell us what you were doing.
We were still working from home, though, at that time because of COVID, and it started raining. I was going to go out and mow, and it rained for an hour and a half, and we needed to take our son to a ball game that night, so I wanted to mow the grass. So about 5 o'clock, I went out. I left my cell phone at the table because it was, raining here and there. And then I went out and started mowing, and there's no houses behind me. There's just a road maybe a mile and a half down to the east. So I was mowing, and this thing come up over the hill, and I look, and it's coming towards me 300 maybe 300 yards away. And I'm thinking, why is this guy out in the middle of a field dressed in all black? And it was jet black. So I'm thinking, okay, this guy out in the middle of the field after it rained is mushroom hunting. So I pulled the mower up to the edge of the field, and it meandered behind these trees. And I'm thinking, okay, there's a guy that lives to the left of me. He's got a trail camera pointing towards the north. And I'm like, I hope it trips the trail camera. It never did. It meandered around and then picked up a deer trail from that side and walked out. And it walked 150 yards to the left. And I'm just like, ain't no one's going to believe me at all. Because I'm thinking, is it a guy mushroom hunting? No, it's June 9th. And I knew if I got off the mower to go in the house, grab the cell phone, it'd be gone. And I just watched it. And I just couldn't believe it.
How big would you say it was compared to a person?
Well, just like some of the other speakers mentioned, it takes a while after you see something that you're trying to wrap your head around. And it took me 2 days to even say something to my wife when we went and got pizza 2 nights later. So, my kid's birthday was June 9th, so he had some friends over. So on Sunday, my kid is, or at that time, 240 pounds and 6 foot. So since we grew up and watched Finding Bigfoot, I wanted a reenactment. So he dressed up in his Adidas uniform, and he went with my wife down an electric golf cart down to the point, and I had him come out just like I observed. And when he popped out and walked across that no-tilled soybean field, what I saw was bigger. And especially when it was coming my direction on me, it was wide. I can also say, as I watched it, my son, normally walking, making sure not stepping on the soybeans. What I saw didn't care. It just glided, and it was grainy. So, which means it would have hair.
Yeah.
I didn't say anything to anybody for a period of time because I wanted more proof. So to the right of me, there was a ravine down there that was county owned for 100 years, and now the county parks own it. I went down to the ravine and I found tracks. And I took pictures of the tracks. Normal, they're anywhere from 14 to 15 inches long. Had my wife down there with me. She's like skeptical, but then she's like, all right, I can't explain that. It's a perfect track. The deer were acting weird. There was tree knocks throughout that summer. Didn't hear any howls. Trying to think anything else that would really. So it wasn't just the sighting, it was the prints. And we've got 3 dogs, and they were COVID dogs. So we're letting them out every 2 hours. At one point, we have a fenced-in area and a propane tank to the left of that, about 20 feet from the back door. And I put topsoil down there and never got around to put stone down on it. So I sprayed Roundup. So in that summer, I was spraying Roundup, and I'll be darned, there was a footprint by that propane tank. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because when we let the dogs out, they went out 10 feet and then started sniffing the air and then ran back in without going potty. And we had ornamental grass 7 feet tall by the propane tank. So it had cover. Following year, it's been back. I found tracks pretty much every year. They mentioned the smell. Me and my wife were out in September of 23, looking at where I found the prints. And when I got back in the golf cart, all of a sudden the smell hit. And she's like, what, do you smell that? It's like sewage. And then I went like that because I knew it was around. And then just like it came, it left.
And you haven't seen any evidence that it's been back since that time?
Not this year. But as I want to also bring out the fact about UFOs, and some of the speakers brought that up. And June of 21 was deciding. November 13th of 21, I was sitting in the chair. It was about 7 o'clock at night. And towards the east, there was these 2 lights that were floating above the woods. So I got my binoculars out. My wife came over and she seen the lights. We watched the lights, or orbs, drop down into the trees down in the middle of the woods.
And you didn't go running out to see what it was?
No. In fact, my wife won't go with me.
Your big chance and you go.
My wife at that time, she knew that I seen something. We don't go out at night.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways, that's kind of my story. I reported to the BFRO. There's other reports from my reports that generated, and people contacted me. But I thought it was out of the area, but this guy contacted me in April of 24. And I'll be darned, he had a Bigfoot sighting there on 1689, 3 miles due east of me. And I met up with him, and he didn't lead me to the cornfield or where I found a print down there beside the woods. And I took a picture of it.
As someone who's been in law enforcement, who looks for evidence, obviously, why do you think this area is such a hot spot for Sasquatch?
You hide in plain sight. Just like he's talking about the watersheds. From Jerome'sville to Ashland, there's a high tension lines. They move. The other guy that contacted me had his sighting in 19, which is 5 miles west of me. Same gas line, same power line. Food source, plenty of deer. In fact, behind me in the woods, there's a poultry barn. And the guy on 1689, there's a poultry barn there. And beside 1689, there's another county park that also has ravines. So there's a common theme.
Let me ask you this. Why do you think it came so close to your house?
Honestly, he was curious because I was out checking, watching, looking.
So when you're out in the ravine looking at his prints, you think he was watching you?
I didn't get a feeling, but I wanted to make sure somebody was with me.
Do you have a
My
gun
wife.
with you?
Huh?
Do you have a gun on you?
So that's why you took your wife to make sure.
So that,
Because you know the saying is you don't have to be the fastest guy, you just got to be faster than the other one with.
True, but she would be.
Okay.
But
All right.
the size that I seen, I carry a sidearm. I wouldn't even shoot it. It's
you just would have
That's
made
big.
it mad.
yeah.
Blazing sat. You know, you just
Yes.
got to make
And- And in all through the years, I've never felt endangered. And he was curious. He was checking out who we were. If the dogs never alerted like that, and I didn't find that print, I would have never known.
So let me ask you this: do you hope that another one comes up around the house that you get another good look at it, or are you
I want-
satisfied?
I want somebody else to see it. I want my wife to see it.
You that's what you. So,
Um,
because now I can see where she's at. Are you a full believer now, or do you just still sort of believe you got to see something for yourself?
Here, Russ's wife says that she's not sure, but she believes him.
Ooh, that's a good answer. You better keep her around.
I'm going to keep her. It's just I don't have a reason to lie at
Yeah.
all. I mean that's the thing. And people making fun of that 19-year-old girl, I feel bad. It made me say, okay, I'm going to write a report, and I'm glad I did.
And you know that to echo what I said at the beginning, that's one of the reasons why I came out and told my story was that if someone in my position is willing to come out and put their reputation on the line, then other people like yourself and this 19-year-old girl could be able to do it.
Yes.
Well, I hope you get your wish to prove your wife that you were right.
I know. I'm right.
That's every guy's dream in here, right?
It-
Huh?
It just, there's funny things when you take a look at things. Like last year in March, we got a shed that we set out back. We repainted the shed, and for some reason in March and April of that year, there were scratches on the barn. I took pictures of it. I showed the farmers what would make the scratches. They were up 6 feet high. And then, of course, there's this claw mark going down the side of the shed. Of course, James was like, oh, Bigfoot's here.
They bring that up.
I don't know what it was. So I went out to the thing, got a trail camera, put it out there. I didn't catch anything.
Well, Russ, we want to thank you,
That's
but I
common.
know that we have some other guests.
I know, I'm sorry. I can get off
We
topic.
appreciate your.
Give a big hand. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. So our next guest is Beth Hahn. Come on, Beth. For those from the Mansfield area, you might know her husband. He's the loudest guy. He's the only guy that can come up here and not need a microphone. Chris Hahn, he's an actor. I mean, I use that term. He's an actor. He's a former professional wrestler. Stuntman, character, needless to say. And I'm good. We're both good friends. Me and the judge are good friends with him. We're good friends with his wife. And when I knew they were coming, I kind of put Beth on the spot because I'll let Beth tell the story. But my wife and I were in Sam's Club in, what was this, June or July?
It was the day before Easter, April 19th.
Is that
this
long
past
ago?
year, yeah.
Okay. So we were in Sam's Club, and Chris, he's kind of soft. He goes to bed like at 7 o'clock at night or whatever.
But we get up at 4:30. Why? To go to the gym.
Oh, to go
so
to
we're
the
not
gym.
that soft.
I don't go to the gym, so I don't understand all that stuff. But I get this phone call. I'm at Sam's Club, and it's Chris calling past his bedtime. Okay? So I'm like, this must be something. And I answer it, and they got me on speaker. They're driving back. It's Beth. I'm going to let her tell you guys what it was that she saw.
Well, it was a frantic call, wasn't
Yes,
it? I was very
It
frantic.
was. And I was in Sam's Club going, like, looking around. I'm trying to talk her through this, and people are looking like, we need to get away from that. More than usual. So
Okay, so it's not nearly as intense as the last story. That was pretty intense. This one, it was just my husband and I were dropping off one of our grandchildren in Akron. I'm terrible with directions, but we were in Akron on 76 going, and I think I saw a sign up above that said like Cleveland Maslin Road 21 coming up soon. And, we're just putzing around talking about Easter. and something caught my eye in my peripheral, and I looked, and something black came out of the woods. Like, we're on the road, and like, I don't know, maybe a couple 100 yards back, there's trees, and I see something black moving, and it wasn't walking, it wasn't stomping, it wasn't running, it was lumbering. I'm so sorry. It was lumbering. I don't know any other way to say it.
What time of day was this?
Like dusk? Was it about dusk? Like the sun was coming down?
It was still light, because when you called me, it was still light.
Right.
Sam's Club.
But it was like the sun was coming down. I don't know if that makes a difference. And I was frantic. And I said, oh my God, there's Bigfoot, there's Bigfoot, there's Bigfoot. And he goes, you don't know what the hell you're talking about, because that happens a lot in our house. But, and I said, seriously, it's over there, it's over there. And I said, stop. He goes, I can't stop. I'm going 70 miles an hour. I can't. I said, you have to stop. You have to turn around. It's there. And I said, we have to go see it. And he said, what are we going to do if we see it? So what are we going to do? He goes, I don't want to have to beat up Bigfoot today, so we're not stopping. So, but I am telling you, it wasn't just a visual. I don't know if this makes any sense to anybody, but it wasn't just a visual. Like, I don't know. It sounds weird, but I felt a presence. Does that make sense to anybody? I see some faces out there. Yeah. Yes. So it was like a presence. It wasn't just, and Chris goes, my husband said, why would he just be walking out there and open when everyone could see him? I said, because nobody is stopping. Nobody believes what they're seeing. And like the other gentleman said, he waited a while to tell anybody. And I not had a connection, because I said, call Shane, call the judge. You have to call somebody quick, because no one else is going to believe me. They're going to believe me. And he was very like, I'm at Sam's Club. Can I call you back later? And I'm thinking, he thinks I'm crazy. He goes, no, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. But it wasn't, it was just like a moment, but he was walking, it was lumbering.
How big would you say it was?
And we talked about that. So where the trees were, there were some pine trees, there were some other trees, but you know how like a pine tree will like the foliage starts about 4 feet up? Is that what you would say? Mm-hmm. So he was like 4 feet above that to me. From what I could see, because he moved he lumbered. I don't know what else to say, but he was like walking with a purpose. He was like looking, it was like he didn't, my father always had a phrase when we were kids. He'd say, you act like you don't stink. He was walking like that. Like he had that attitude, like it didn't matter.
So were you driving or you
I was riding. He was driving.
So was it on the passenger side or the driver's side?
It was on my side, yeah, because so it was on the right side. I don't know if it was north, south, east, or west. I don't know.
You were heading west.
I was coming from Akron to Mansfield.
Yeah. So was it walking towards you or walking away from you?
It was walking parallel with me. I shouldn't say that. I was going this way. He came. When I say walked out, it almost like he just appeared all of a sudden. I was looking out there, and then it was there. Wasn't there, then it was there. And I say he because it was like a person. I don't know. It wasn't he. I don't know. I feel like he is more appropriate than it, but he was just walking the opposite direction as I was. And all I kept thinking is, where is he going? What's he doing? And then I kept staring, and the sun, I think the sun maybe blocked some of my view, because how when you look in the sun, you get that stuff in your eyes. And he just kind of disappeared from my vision. I don't know if he disappeared into the trees, but I couldn't see him any longer.
So he was about 8 foot tall.
Or so. I said to my husband, I said, he's like 3 feet taller than you, 3 or 4 feet taller than you. My husband's over 6 foot. So he was huge. And he wasn't just tall. He had a lot of girth. Like he was, this is weird. Chris, I'm sorry, but he was built like my husband. My husband's a big guy. He was
this just a fantasy that you replay for everyone?
No.
Or a nightmare. And this is the part that when she started describing how big it was, because not only is Chris a former wrestler, her son's a wrestler.
Yeah.
She's around big dudes. Okay.
Yeah.
So she has a frame of reference of when somebody's abnormally Large.
My father was bigger than Chris too. So, but my point is that he was bigger than anything I'd seen, and he walked with a purpose, or he lumbered. I'm sorry, guys. That's the only thing I can think to say. And the way
They're
he
not
just,
going to take offense.
it's just a silly word. My husband's been making fun of me for months, but he just kind of like walked like he didn't care if anybody saw him or not. Now my son the wrestler has a theory that he's a good guy, and he has some kind of like a way that he can just like appear and not appear. Kind of like, when we were kids and, you run across a bee's nest and our parents used to say, don't bother them, they won't bother you. And that's kind of what we think in our family, that Bigfoot, he's not out to harm anybody. He's curious. He's not going to bother you if you don't bother him. He's just there.
It's the same thing we say about Chris.
It is. Yeah, you're right. It is. Yeah.
He won't bother you.
Yeah. So it's not as intense as the other one, but it was a fun story. And I felt it in my whole body, not just visually. I felt it. And so much to the point where I had to tell somebody. And so here we are.
And I'm glad that you called me to tell me. So before we let you go, would you like to have another encounter that was closer or even, more up close and personal?
Absolutely. Yes. Not by myself like that other guy. I want someone else with me. Maybe not for the same reason, but I don't want to be there by myself. I do. I would love
he's
to.
He's just a good guy. You got nothing.
If I don't bother him,
Yeah.
I'm going to bring him cookies.
I'm one of these guys, and I've told Gerb this. I don't want to go out in the woods looking for Bigfoot. And the reason why is because if somebody told me, hey, there's an escaped chimpanzee in the woods, would you go find him? I'm like, no, it'll rip your face off.
Yeah.
And so a chimpanzee compared to a Bigfoot size-wise, it's not even close. So I'm not going to trust that he's a good guy. I'm not the field researcher. I will do this stuff. Or the enthusiast.
I'll be with you, but I don't want to fight him.
I don't want to run the risk of it.
We'll let Chris fight it. But before we let it go, the Chris, so they're on the speakerphone talking to me, and I go, Chris, why didn't you turn around? He goes, I got to get home and get the bag. I'm like, okay. You had a real chance there, and he just kept on going.
He blew it for me. This could have been my life.
I know we put you on the spot. I appreciate you.
No problem. It was fun. It was fun. Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Come on, you're in the hot seat.
Now, introduce yourself.
I am George Birch from Fredericktown, Ohio.
We won't hold that against you. Anyway, so we talked a little bit out there. You have a pretty intense experience. So I want you to tell everybody time frame, area, and just kind of tell everybody what happened.
Okay, the basic area is pretty close to Fredericktown. I'm not going to give an exact location because I don't want the place bombarded, I guess. There's still activity, I believe. So my brother-in-law and my nephew always come up in November to hunt during Thanksgiving. And on November 25th, we bow hunt, so we get up pretty early. And we want to be out there about at least an hour before it gets light to get settled in. And so I took Zachary and dropped him off in the woods. And I took Andrew, his father, about a half a mile away from him, dropped him off. Then I proceeded to go a mile north into another woods. And the only thing that's separating us is the river, basically, and some fields. And I parked the truck. I get out, start putting on my hunting gear, grab my bow, started walking up to a bean field, and I get right on top of the hill, and I heard, I guess what they call a howl, and I stopped dead in my tracks, and it went on for at least 3 to 5 seconds.
Now, somebody who's been hunting for years.
Yes.
Is that the first time you never heard that?
Yes, I've hunted since I was 9 years old here in Ohio and in the same area. And as I stopped and was listening to this, I said, that is Bigfoot. And then I called myself stupid. I said, what? That's not Bigfoot. And I tried to
It's more
debunk it.
crazy to talk to
Yes.
yourself than it is to believe.
Yes. But I heard this noise before because I've, watched YouTube videos and podcasts and TV shows about Bigfoot. And as I'm listening to this, I'm thinking, there's got to be an explanation for this. And there's a state route that goes past there with a lot of traffic. So that was my first, thought was that a semi? And I thought, there's no way. It sounded like an animal, but also human when it made this call. And anyhow, after that, I went ahead and walked to the tree stand, and we hunted, and we didn't see no deer. And I went and picked everybody up. And when we picked Zach up, he was the last one. I said, "Did you guys hear something?" And they both said yes. And I said, "Which direction?" And they both pointed northeast. And whatever I heard was directly east of me. And I asked Zachary, my nephew, I said, "Well, what do you think it is?" And he said, "That was Bigfoot." So, we proceeded. We got home, and my sister's a big Bigfoot fan. And as soon as we walked in the door, she said, "Did you get anything?" I said, "No, but we heard Bigfoot." And she lit up. And we went straight to the TV and looked up vocalizations for Bigfoot. And we come across the 1994 Ohio Bigfoot Howl. And we all pointed at the TV saying, that is exactly what we heard. So that's my story. I never seen him, but I know darn well he's out there.
Now, so like Beth said, when she had her sighting, she felt it. When you heard that sound, did you feel it? Or what?
I was more amazed at how, I guess, it wasn't scary like people say. It was more, I was calm. It was more relaxing than being scared.
How far do you think that Bigfoot was that was making that howl from you?
Well, when, I even started mapping everything out. That's how I know Zachary's a half a mile from Andrew, and they're both a mile from me. And I mapped out the location of where I figured it came from, and it was a mile east of me.
It was a mile away and you could hear it.
Yes, and it was just like having a conversation with somebody. That's how loud it was coming from that distance.
Do you think it knew you guys were out there?
That I don't know. I do not know that.
You think that's why you didn't see any deer?
It could be.
I mean, how often do you go out there and just not see anything at that time of year?
Hardly ever.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I did. Curiosity killed the cat. I did go to some of the locals that live over in that area. And the one farmer knows me pretty well. I'm a jokester. I really don't care what people think when I tell them something. The truth. I'm telling you the truth. This is really what it is. And he just said he's heard coyotes there before, but I've heard coyotes. I've heard owls. I've heard all kinds of strange noises out in the woods. And I also went to the next neighbors and talked to them. And when I was telling them my story, the husband pointed at his wife. And she not only seen it, but when it darted into the woods, which is only probably about 100 yards thick, the neighbor on the other road actually seen it and came to them and asked them if they seen anything. And then her husband actually seen it also in the field to the left a year or two later. So you're looking at this time span about 5 years of people seeing something or hearing something.
So this vocalization, did you said you didn't have a sense of fear. What do you think it was doing? Was it calling out to another one? Was it calling out to you to just let you know it's there? Or?
I don't know. I mean, all I know is one call. It wasn't three like what you'd see on the 1994 Bigfoot Howl. It was just one continuous long call, and then it ended.
How long did you say you thought it lasted?
3 to 5 seconds.
Now you've been back out there hunting.
Oh yes. Yeah, I mean, I'm not scared of him, I guess. I guess maybe I have a good one. I mean, I don't know. You don't know.
I hope you do.
See, I'm always, I'm one of these, and I guess what I do, I listen to testimony, I evaluate that testimony, I weigh the testimony, and I'm always perplexed because you have no idea what that howl means. Is that a mating call? Is it a warning to you? Like a dog, like we all know, we have dogs, and from a dog, when it barks at you, if it's a playful bark or it's a menacing bark, right? And we know that because we see dogs all the time. We have dogs. You have no idea what that howl was meant to be. You know what I'm saying? So that's one of the reasons why I do not want to go out and be a researcher, because if I hear that howl, I don't know what that howl signifies.
And you got guys doing it back.
I mean, so you don't know whether when you're doing that howl and stuff like that, are you challenging this thing? Are you sending a mating call? I mean, so it's
I've heard some of his mating calls.
Yeah, so I'm very leery about what I'm going to project out into the ether, because I don't know what that would mean. And I was walking one time with someone and they said, well, hey, maybe we should play the Ohio Sounds. I'm like, why on earth would I do that? Because I don't know what the Ohio Sounds is saying. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what it's communicating. So I don't want to send out a challenge to say, hey, let's see who's the biggest and the baddest in this woods. Or, hey, I'm looking for a significant other to, So
I guess what he's trying to say is,
you're a braver soul than I am.
Don't respond.
But only in this woods, and there's many hunters out there probably, when they are up in a tree stand, they have, I believe everybody has a sixth sense or whatever. They know if something's watching them. And in this woods, I get the feeling sometimes that something can see me, then I cannot see it. And, it's not a coyote. It's, I'm looking around, but there's something there. And I know there is.
Well, I'd say be careful. Be careful. Well, thanks for coming up and sharing that.
Yes, you're
We
welcome.
appreciate it. Welcome to the show.
Thank
So,
you.
Introduce yourself and. So you got a fan club? This is not.
A couple people have
All
heard
right,
this.
all right. So introduce yourself and let's hear your story.
Well, my name's Joe Keski, and I was born and raised up near Cleveland, Ohio, in Independence, right along pretty much in the middle of the Cuyahoga Valley National Park. We were on the western border. And all throughout high school, I graduated in 92. All throughout high school, a lot of you in here probably have heard the legends of Helltown. We used to drive around down in the valley, go down to Helltown all the time, which is kind of a spooky thing to drive and do. You see the school bus with the pentagrams on it. And that was it. So after high school, I joined the Army, and I was gone for a few years. And in 95, I was 21 years old, and I came home on leave. And my old high school buddy of mine that we used to go down there all the time with, we decided to take my 15-year-old cousin down to Helltown for his first trip. And we went and saw the fireworks. It was the 4th of July, 95. After the fireworks, we take him down into the valley. The road that goes down into the Helltown that everybody knows was closed. We were basically escorted out by a police officer that did not pull us over, but saw that we didn't stick around. There used to be abandoned houses down there from the eminent domain. we're like, well, next thing we're going to do is we'll go take Ken and we'll go walk around one of these abandoned houses. So we went to a favorite spot. Come to find out the house was demolished. So now we're like, all right, that's strike two. I guess before we go home and watch a movie, we're going to hike the train tracks, which is the Cuyahoga Valley Scenic Railroad. And this is right by Brandywine Ski Resort. It's called the Jate Trailhead. And we parked in the public lot at the Jate Trailhead. And by this time, it's probably about midnight. It was a really clear night. The moon was out. And to give a little lay of the land, the train tracks run north and south. The main road in the Cuyahoga Valley is Riverview. That's to our left. And then the Cuyahoga River is to our right. So you've got three things running parallel, all running north and south. We're in the middle. So the three of us, we just start walking down the train tracks, and me and my buddy Aaron are talking. Ken's lagging behind us a little bit, and we're just young guys just out for a night hike. Aaron is the one who, growing up, used to go hunting. So we felt very comfortable out in the woods because anytime we heard any type of a noise, Aaron had the answer. He knew that was a buck snorting, that was a raccoon, that was this and that. Because we were suburban kids, we weren't outdoorsmen, but he knew, and we were comfortable with that. So as we're walking down the tracks, we only get a few hundred feet. We get out of the wood line, and it opens up into this big wide area where in between Riverview Road to our left and the tracks is this huge swampy marsh. Deep water with cattails, and there's beavers and turtles and everything in there swimming. And we just start walking into where this water is on our left-hand side, and we hear this very loud, strange, high-pitched howl, which, like the guy before described, as everybody knows now as the Ohio howl. We had never heard this before in '95, and it's just the woo, and it just starts carrying higher and higher, and it goes on for about 10 seconds. And in that valley, there was nobody down there. I mean, we, besides the police officer, we didn't see anybody in this whole area. And this howl just echoes. And we're walking. It didn't really stop us, but we're walking, and Aaron and I are talking. We're like, what the heck was that noise? And he and I are talking about it. We're like, it came from our west. It came from way across Riverview Road, way up on this ridge line. You could tell it was far away, but whatever it was yelled into the valley. And I just remember us settling on, well, I know there's houses way back there. Maybe somebody has a peacock or something. Like, we didn't know what else to ascribe the noise to because nothing else made sense. So we blew it off and we keep walking. We probably walk another quarter mile. And we get into this area that me and Aaron used to call the tunnel. And it wasn't an actual tunnel, but it was the way the tree canopy came back together. It wrapped around, and the foliage was so dense that it looked like you were walking into a dark tunnel. And that's where the scenic railroad had some old train cars parked. So these guys are staying down on the tracks. I jump up onto the train cars. I'm just trying to open a couple of doors. I mean, we're not trying to do nothing. It's just curiosity. I jump up there and I'm trying to open them. Everything's locked up. These guys are like bugging me, like, come on, let's go. I'm like, all right. So I jump back on the tracks. We turn around and we're heading our way back out. So we exit the tunnel. We're back into the wide open space. This big swamp is on our right-hand side. And we get, maybe 200 or 250 feet into the swamp, and something lets out a scream that I've tried so hard over the years to describe, and it's almost impossible because it started as like the most high-pitched, shrill, shrieking wail of just an ear-splitting screech. And it's screaming and screaming and screaming, and it's so loud. It's like being up close to a fire truck siren or a race car engine or something that actually makes your eardrum feel like it's itching and you involuntarily have to stick your finger in your ear. The volume was that loud. My eardrum felt like it was vibrating and itching, and I had to stick my finger in my ear. And the tone started to change. It was starting very high pitch, and it was starting to get deeper and deeper and deeper. And in the middle, like through the middle of this, I can still hear it in my head, but I can never describe it. It's almost like it went into this weird harmonic, and then it ends into the deep guttural as it empties its lungs, and it ended as like a lion's roar, But that's not the way it started. And from start to finish, this was probably, I mean, if you watch a stopwatch, 12, 13 seconds, it was incredibly long and powerful scream. And we didn't see anything. There was nothing there. It was just this noise coming out of the water.
How far would you estimate whatever was making that howl to where you were standing?
At that time, I had no idea because it was so loud. It just sounded like it was coming from everywhere. And we didn't see anything. I mean, I could see I'm looking in the direction of where the noise.
Sound.
Yes, but
There was no peacocks.
no, but I'm looking in the direction of where the noise is coming from. But it's just looking like a tree stump and like some scrubby trees that are in the water, and that's it. Well, as we're standing there and that thing ends, it goes to that like pin drop silence. Like everything went quiet. Like when the power goes out in your house and it's like that eerie, like, whoa, everything shuts down. And it's silent. And my buddy, Aaron, who is the one who's supposed to have all these answers, he just starts coming unglued. And he grabs onto my shoulder and he gets that high-pitched voice where he's like, Joe, what was that? What was that? What was that? And he's starting to panic and freak out. And as he's sitting there screaming in my ear, it looked, with me being in the Army, I had estimated this was about 25 meters out in the water, so roughly 75 to 80 feet. It looked like there was a tree stump in the water. And then like this explosion of water, what looked like a tree stump blows out of the water, and it's this creature that's on two legs, and you just see its arms go out to the side, and it starts charging straight at us from inside the water. And it's throwing its weight, it's throwing its arms forward like wild, like roundhouse punches, like somebody just trying to tear the crap out of someone, and it's throwing these like wild punches as it's throwing its weight through the water. And this thing's charging through the water like a chain was hooked on a four-wheel drive truck and you just romped the gas. I mean, it's throwing water and mud.
You saw this thing throwing its arms.
Yes.
So the water from a depth standpoint was at its chest, at its waist, at its knees?
It looked chest deep. So when it started, I was just seeing from the chest up of its arms, but it very quickly was growing in size as it was coming.
So like we've all been in that where you're in water, it's a swimming pool or a pond, or you're at the lake, and you're trying to get out of the water really quickly. That's kind of how you do things, right? I mean, you're
it's
swinging
the same
your
motion
arms.
a human would try, but this thing was actually getting traction and movement, where a human, you try running in a swimming pool, you can't do anything. This thing was moving, like I said, like it was being drugged with a chain. I mean, that's how fast.
So it's about 70, 80 feet from you when you see it.
Yes.
How quickly was it closing on you?
Very quickly. So it probably got a good 40 foot jump before your like shock in your brain is realizing what the hell is happening. And, kind of like a flock of birds, the three of us, without saying anything, instantly, it's like a switch was flipped and the three of us instantly take off running. And I don't know how we didn't trip over each other.
So your fight or flight kicked in and you chose not to fight.
My brain chose flight. Yes. All three of us made that same decision at the same time, which was wild. And so I was the last one in line. And as I'm running, I'm looking over my shoulder because I like get into this rhythm of forward, backward, because I'm trying not to trip over the train tracks, and I'm trying to look at this thing because I'm feeling like it's hot on me, ready to grab me by the collar, because this thing comes out of the water and it ran right to where I was standing, and it stopped at the base of the train tracks. So it didn't climb up onto the tracks, but it stood right at the edge of that water, like where the cattails are, and it locked up and it froze with its arms down to its side. And that's, you start going into this weird, like, you don't believe what you're seeing, because I know those tracks are elevated 4 to 5 feet off the water. It rolls down, and there's like that big gravel the size of your fist that goes down there. Well, this thing's hips were like parallel with the tracks, where the thing's standing there, and it had the silhouette of like a football player, like a linebacker with the shoulder pads on and the helmet on, but everything was biological. I mean, it looked like a naked guy came out of the water, and the moon you could see the muscles. People have asked me before if it was hairy. If it was, I didn't see it, or maybe because it was slicked down to its body, what I saw was just the muscular form of this body, these enormous shoulders, its fingers down past its knees, and it was very wedge shaped. You know, it was very broad at the shoulders, very narrow at the waist.
So how would you estimate from shoulder to shoulder how wide it was?
Estimating from running, I was thinking between 3 and 4 feet wide at the shoulders, and anywhere from 8 to 10 feet tall. Based, if you're going to go by your regular gauge of where a human's hips are in relation to the rest of its body, if its hips were at the railroad tracks, and that was 4 foot, then probably double that to where the head was.
So you guys took off running, get out of there.
Yes.
What was the conversation like then once you guys got out? Because you said it stopped where you had been standing, kind of like it was like, get out of here.
It did. Well, it was pure chaos from that point. Everybody, my cousin's hyperventilating and crying. My buddy's screaming at me. We take the long way home because, it was almost like an instinct. When we pulled out of that parking lot and turned right, you immediately dead end into Riverview, and to turn right is the way we have to go home, and that's where this creature is. So it was almost like instinctively my wheel cuts to the left, and we're going so fast that we blow right past the road that we need to get out of there, and we stayed on Riverview and probably took a 20-mile detour to get around back to my house in Independence. We went clear down to Route 303 for people that know the area before we went up to Brecksville Road and back to Independence. And it was in that car ride that, Aaron's screaming at me, what was that thing? What was that thing? Who was that thing? Who was that thing? I'm like, I don't freaking know. I'm excited to build my freaking race car. I'm a young kid with some money, and that's what I was interested in. I had nothing to do with cryptids. And he starts asking, was that a Bigfoot? And I'm like, I have no idea. Why would you even, I didn't even think that was a question somebody would ask me. But
so you were not a Bigfoot enthusiast?
Not at all.
At that point in time?
No.
And you quickly eliminated being a Cleveland Browns player because they weren't that fast or aggressive.
No.
All right.
No.
So
and generally speaking, they're not naked either.
So you guys are losing your mind. How does this? What's this affect the rest of up till today? Because I know a little bit about what you said.
So what ends up
Before you
happening?
answer that though,
Yeah.
for the listeners, how far from the time you saw it was it till you got to your car? What was the distance you'd had to run?
A little over a quarter mile. So it was a little over a quarter mile of straight sprinting as fast as you could go down train tracks, and I was wearing army boots. So, I was fast at the time, way better shape than I am now.
I'm really fast right then.
But, my cousin was a soccer player, and my friend Aaron, should have been a track star, but he wasn't. Those guys were smoking me, and, I guess I was the lucky one in the back. So,
So did when you compared notes, did they see what you saw?
yes. Yeah, they did. We all went back to the house. After my parents and everybody laughed at us and didn't believe us, we went back into a room and we all sketched out what we saw. And we all drew a variant of the same thing, of something standing in the water that was like chest deep, that was throwing its arms. Now, I'm the only one that saw it standing at the tracks, because by the time it came out of the water, those guys were sprinting and running. I was the one in the back looking over my shoulder, so I kept seeing it coming. So these guys saw it running through the water. I saw it running through and standing at the bank. That next morning, after everybody laughed at us, my cousin wanted to go home. Aaron wanted to go home. Aaron was like family to me. He was just as welcome into my house as a brother as I was at his. I'd known him for years. But I did something that I carried a lot of guilt with forever, and that was I told my 15-year-old cousin, who had just had this traumatic encounter, to shut up about it and not tell anyone. Don't tell my aunt and uncle, because in my mind, I almost just got my cousin killed, and I didn't want to get in trouble and have them mad at me and all that. So I was just like, I turned him loose back to his house after just going through this with nobody to talk to. Aaron and I didn't speak much at all that last couple of days, because now 2 days later I had to get back on a flight and go to Germany. And I knew once I got in that airplane, that was like when everything started closing in, and I almost started having an anxiety attack on that airplane, because now that shock was like a delayed reaction hitting me. Because now, like, all the noise and busyness of everybody is gone, and I'm just sitting there like dwelling on this, like, what the hell was that? I didn't know if this was demonic. I had no idea what to even base this on and what was happening. I wanted to talk to somebody about it, but every time I tried to, they'd laugh at me. I knew as soon as I went back to the Army, the protocol for coming home on leave was to get drug tested. So, and I knew if I would have told any of my friends, the first conversation would have been laughing that, oh, you were home smoking, doing some stuff. So I was just like, I can't tell anybody in the Army. They're going to end up giving me a psych eval. So I'm trying to swallow this up by myself. And all I want to do is talk to my buddy. So in 95, all you have is that calling card or write a letter. I start calling him at night, and he's just like, I can't talk right now, and is hanging up the phone. Finally, I'm getting like an answering machine, and I'm like, okay, after like 2 weeks of having to wait 24 hours to talk to my buddy, I'm like, he don't want to talk about this. So I let him be, and I forgot about it. Now, I was on orders to go to Bosnia. Now, this is probably when I needed to start talking to somebody, but I don't know who I would have talked to. But now it starts messing with my head. The Army training that I had taught me to react. It taught me to react and do things in a certain way. And I did not do that. I recognized that I had fight or flight, and my body's choice was flight. So now that starts messing with my head. If I get deployed and something happens, what if I go to flight again and I get somebody killed? So now I'm starting to freak out, and I don't want to stay in the military anymore because I was wanting to re-enlist. I chose to not re-enlist and to come home and go National Guard. And I came home a year later when my enlistment was up. I came home unannounced, surprised my family. My mom about has this heart attack. And I drop it on them after being home for like 15 minutes. I'm like, I need to take your car. I've got some business I have to take care of. My family's responding like a normal family would, that their soldier son had just come home and they're all happy. The furthest thing from their minds is that prank he tried to pull a year ago with a Bigfoot. But that's the only thing that's on my brain is I need to talk to my buddy. So I take my mom's car keys, unannounced. I go over to my buddy's house. I knock on the door. He answers the door, looks like that typical deer in the headlights. His mom pokes her head out from her first floor bedroom and looks at me and looks like she's staring at Satan. And my buddy, he's just like, I can't talk right now. And he closes the door in my face. And that was the last time I've seen him. He was someone that I would have asked to be like the best man at my wedding or something like that. And for 30 years, we haven't seen each other again. That was like that event completely just ended it.
From years, and before I became judge, I was in private practice for 17 years, and I did all kinds of cases. And what I found was that people who experience trauma, especially at a young age, don't tell anybody. It's the reason why, children get abused and don't tell anybody. The reason why people are victims of domestic violence, they don't tell anybody. And the interesting thing is, like children who've been abused, they blame themselves. They carry this guilt with them, just like you did. You're carrying this guilt with you for no reason. And it's an interesting component of what trauma does to you.
Now, there's no way to wrap this up in a tight, nice little package, but before we end this, so how have you come to grips with this a little bit better now? And how is your cousin, right?
Yeah, so
He was 15 at the time.
At the time, he was 15. So we did have an opportunity a year ago for my cousin and I to actually undergo hypnotic regression. I can't talk too much about that right now because it was filmed. So maybe you can put two and two together on what that's for. So we'll see if that comes out. All I can tell you is that after 30 years of me never hearing him speak the encounter the way he recalled it, I was in the room when he was under regression, and I was practically crawling out of my chair because he was throwing me back into the biggest flashback of being there that night. It was so wild.
Well, I want to thank you for coming up and this has been one of the most emotional.
So much for the Mr. Good Guy. Leave him alone. He won't bother you.
So I want you to write down to Phil. Phil, we need to sign his rights to that movie. That's the next movie we need.
Yeah, right.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much. Big hand. Big hand. Big hand.
Chuck, this is my brother-in-law, Barry Ferenchek. Thank you so much for doing this. We're going to put you in the hot seat.
Yep, sit in the hot seat.
Just for a quick second. If anybody was here earlier to hear my talk this morning at 10 o'clock on the list of things that happened at our house in 2013, was 2 weeks after my road crossing sighting. Barry and I were sitting out by the campfire along with my husband, and then he went to sleep. And we had been doing Bigfoot howls earlier in the day, just to goof off, because we were trying to learn what it is and what it sounds like. And so that 12 years later, my wonderful brother-in-law, who's not a man of many words at all, and is not very happy to be sitting in the seat, especially after Joe's, recollection of what happened to him. But Shane, if you just want to ask him what he did and how he howled.
Yeah, so what exactly is she talking about?
So we were sitting around the fire. It was roughly 20 minutes to 2 on Memorial Day. It's actually pretty cold. I got the stupid idea to make a Bigfoot howl because
Didn't I warn you guys about doing this?
hindsight. But I've been watching Finding Bigfoot, and I thought, oh, that would be fun. We're in a rural area. Maybe let's give it a try. So I let rip, and I guess I have to do it again now. I haven't done it since 2013. So.
All right, you need to warm up a little bit, or are you ready?
Oh, no, I'm going to take it away from my mouth so it's not. I don't want to bring them all in here.
All right.
And that's about it. Anticlimactic, I know. I'm sorry.
I'm not sure if that was a mating call or not.
That's yet to be seen.
Oh, yeah.
He's that was mild by comparison. He shrieked the heck out of that thing, but when it happened, it answered exactly the way he did it. So
How did that feel when it answered?
The first time it answered, I was like, oh, okay, that's weird.
But so you did it again, even though, okay.
Yes, and then it answered back closer.
So it was getting closer.
As far as we could tell. Yes.
And see, that's why I've always, like I said, I've been perplexed with it, because you have no idea what you're throwing out there. And maybe it was, hey, come and let's see who the alpha male is.
Well, yeah, and when he did that screech, I remember it more like, he did it. It lit up the whole night.
I was a little more animated in my younger years.
Well, also, I'd like to say this is our dear Barry's birthday.
Ooh.
And so if we could have audience participation on this.
Oh, man, they put you in bed.
No way.
Just to put it to happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Barry. Happy birthday to you. He did it.
So that concludes this episode of the From the Shadows podcast. Thank you for everybody that stuck around for our nonsense. Thank you for all the people who were brave enough to come up and share their stories. Boy, you better do something about that afterwards. But, You could find us anywhere you listen to podcasts. We're on YouTube. We're on Spotify, Apple. Come check us out. Like I said, this episode will be up in a week or two. It'll be a bonus episode. We won't make it wait till Friday because that'll be a couple months from now. So come out and talk to us. If you want to talk to us, come out and tell us how terrible we did. If you want to do that too, you wouldn't be the first. So, but thanks for everybody coming out. This has been a great event, and hopefully we'll see you next year.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the From the Shadows podcast. Until next time, never shy away from the darkness or what may be lurking in the shadows. We are out.
God only knows what's hiding